Meantime, last week we told you how the rights of landowners are superseded by those who own subsurface mineral rights. In the third installment of my series on fracking in the Marcellus Shale Formation, we take a look at where drill cuttings end up. This is the waste generated from the drilling process before the actual fracking process begins. We'll tell you how the cuttings are treated as industrial waste and end up in landfills, and why some are concerned that the waste may be radioactive.
Well, they're fracking in Pennsylvania, so they're drilling, and the drill cuttings from the initial development of the well are wet and bring up brine from the formation, which is highly concentrated with the radioactivity, and the wet drill cuttings are being taken to New York landfills, as well as Pennsylvania landfills.
Attorney Gary Abraham is describing what happens to drill cuttings from the fracking process. Even though New York has put a moratorium on hydraulic fracturing in the state, it can't control waste that's brought from out-of-state sites due to an interstate commerce law.
The Supreme Court ruling called Carbone versus the town of Clarkstown changed the way that trash was collected throughout the nation, allowing waste to be transported across state lines.
The Carbone decision basically made it unconstitutional for a landfill to reject waste that's coming from outside the jurisdiction or outside the state.
But the Marcellus Shale Formation contains high levels of natural radioactivity, and for that reason, Abraham says cuttings from drill sites in the formation should be considered hazardous waste.
One of the two landfills that I'm involved with, the Chemung landfill, the leachate from the landfill is being tested by the landfill itself under their permit, and that's become progressively more radioactive over the last 2 or 3 years, when they've, coinciding with the time they've been taking in waste from Marcellus Shale drill sites.
Waste is considered a valuable commodity, and drill cuttings are 4 times as dense as regular trash, which means it takes much less space in a landfill. Before moving to Maryland, Roger Merritt used to manage a landfill in Atlanta. He had the opportunity to take drill cuttings from the fracking process there, but chose not to.
And I guess with the unknown nature of the fracking waste, I just felt like it was in our best interest to pass on that. And although there was a significant amount of profit involved in it, it just made more sense to be more concerned about the safety of our employees.
Pennsylvania requires radiation detectors at all landfills, and New York has done the same voluntarily. Maryland has no such regulations. Gary Abraham says he has residents monitoring trucks coming from drill sites that are often leaking fluids, and he says they've detected some radioactivity in the cuttings.
We will be challenging further expansions of these landfills, and as the test results come in on the leachate, we're considering whether to challenge their transporting of this liquid to local wastewater treatment plants, which don't have the ability to take any radioactivity out of it.
Now, portions of this segment were made possible thanks to a fellowship from the Institute for Journalism and Natural Resources. Be sure to tune in next week for part 4 of my series, when we take a look at the relationship between earthquakes and fracking.